Hello everybody. Don't worry, you're going to get a location and everything, but I just want to orient us a little bit here. First of all, the GPS is down here. I'm not going to do a big huge zoom out, but we are near the Illinois-Indiana border on the northwest, off the northwest part of Indiana. Okay, so we're near Lake Michigan. We're still south of it, but it's close here. Okay, we are looking north right here, and I want you to notice this rock. It's dolostone, okay, dolomitic carbonate rock. It's pretty homogeneous lithologically. Some parts are not salacious, are argillaceous, which means they have silt and clay in them. But most of it's pretty pure, most of it's crystalline, and most of it is riddled with fossils. Now, most of you who know me and know anything about the geology of Illinois are going to know that the biggest structure in Illinois is called the East Interior Basin, or the Illinois Basin. Now, these are beds. These angled things you see are to-scale bedding, okay? You might be like, well, that doesn't look basin-like. That kind of goes up. We're not actually in the Illinois Basin here. We're northeast of it on something called the Kankakee Arch. Well, this must be the eastern flank of that. No, it's not. The Kankakee Arch is so massive that if you measured any other beds except this area, they're going to be less than half a degree, okay, dipping. So they're essentially flat and level too. But here they're not. Why is that? Well, we're going to go west a little bit, and I'm just going to show you the north part of the road because the sun's shining on that part. The southern part here, I'll show you, is in shadow and in sun up here. So even though the southern side is a little better for this, but you keep going and you keep seeing these beds are dipping. So do we have a mini structure here? Is something going on? Did this experience some sort of stress? Look, they're pretty evenly dipping. You might think, well, we're on a limb here of either an anticline or syncline or dome or mini basin, but we're not. Well, we are on, it can be considered a dome, okay? It technically is from a structural geology standpoint. But these beds were not deformed. They were not tilted. They were not compressed. They were deposited at this slope. This is the east side of Thornton Reef system. It's actually a bunch of reefs, smaller ones on top of a big initial one. And it's Silurian. It's almost Devonian, not quite. Okay, and we're going to talk about this from this aspect because it's easier than trying to, just drive and talk. Not drive and talk, but even stick out a passenger seat. Because the speed limit here is 55. Everyone does 70 because it's Illinois. This is the Illinois side. Indiana's, I don't know, maybe 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers east of here. I'll show you. I'll zoom out here because there's something else I want to show you to zoom out. But this truck is eventually going to get in the way too, so we're going to have to get around him a little bit. Now, I've already done some exploring, and I found out that the Google car actually stops somewhere, and you can get to see something, okay? Now, you see, we still have pretty consistent dipping. And this dip, the dip here is probably 30 to 40 degrees. It's steep here. Now, this is initial dip. See, beds don't always get deposited levelly. We do have exceptions. But you look at the individual beds, you can see the thicknesses are still pretty homogeneous. They don't vary too much in thickness. You get a little anticline type structure here. It's a little mini dome. This stuff is just riddled with fossils. There's even stuff called asphaltum on it, and you'll even occasionally see in some of the vugs and vasculars black tarry substance. That's native. That's not due to any sort of contamination. That stuff is in the rock. Asphaltum's like a sticky tar substance. There's no oil in this rock. There is further down, way down in some of the Galena Platteville. But now you look at this here, and wow, this opened up. What is this? This is Thornton Quarry. Most of the reef has been quarried out over the past, I don't know, 100 years? No, yeah, maybe 100 years. Obviously, it wasn't this big 100 years ago. And this is I-80 looking westbound. You can see it's just a mess. And what you see here, what I want to show you is we're going to go a little bit like this. You can't see it too well right here, but you can. This is a ramp, okay? So that's not bedding. But you see here, this is the end of the stuff close to the road. That's the cliff. You can see there is substantial bedding and slight structures. And technically they are little basins, little domes, little anticlines, little synclines. They are just not tectonic in origin. They are depositional in origin. Now, you may be like, wow, this is a massive bridge, but do you see any sort of anything to support a bridge here? And this is deep, very deep. We're going to see how deep it is here in a minute. No, it's actually on bedrock. I-80 sits on bedrock. Most of the people that drive this every day don't even know that. They think it's a bridge. The only part that's an actual bridge is where you can cross from south to the north side here, okay? And zoom out for a minute here, and we're still looking west. Let me turn that north for you, because I do want to zoom in. Again, this is full of water. This side's closed down. They don't quarry it anymore. It's part of what's called the TARP project. It's an acronym. I forget what it means. Anyway, basically what they've been doing since around the time I was born, and they were supposed to finish when I was in my 20s. I'm going to be 50 this year, and they still aren't done. They've started drilling massive tunnels into the Silurian carbonate rock. Now, this reef is only in this area, but it's part of the Racine Formation. You can formally name reefs, but Illinois doesn't do that for some reason. Indiana does, and it's like the only part of the code that Indiana actually respects. But anyway, the carbonates are very common in the bedrock in the Chicagoland area, so they started drilling them out to make way for stormwater. And this is one of the places it empties into. And I mean, these tunnels are massive. Some of these tunnels you could easily drive 2 semi-trucks side by side down. They are huge. I unfortunately have never been in them. This part is still quarried. You see there's still a little bit of water here. This too, this southwest side. This used to be quarried too, at least a little bit. And it was never opened like this. But let's exit Street View so you can get a general idea, or let's do this, so you get a general idea of how deep this is, just from the crappy, now everything's in feet, I'm sorry about that, but let's see, let's go down. Now remember, this is not very accurate elevations like this. This data that took these elevations is from the 90s. But here you see at about 312 feet above mean sea level, the bottom of the North Pit here. So here you have, what are we at? 604. So 312, almost 400 feet. Okay? So that's almost 400 feet in, elevation from ground level to there. So this road, I-80, is 400 feet up. 400 feet is what? Close to 100, it's like 130 to 150 meters, somewhere in there. You can do the translation if you wish. And here you can actually see, when you look at the side, because it's exaggerated, oh crap, no, let's not do that. Let's go back here first, and then I'll take us out again, because I've already accidentally done this once. Now you look here, see the truck out in the way, exit Street View. Now we do it this way. This is exaggerated. This is probably, I don't know, maybe 5-10 times vertical exaggeration. I don't think it's 10, but it's probably 5 to 8. You can see the bedding is far more exaggerated here, and this is all initial bedding. And here you see that one line I told you was a road. It is a road. It's right here. Now they give tours still of this area, and I know somebody who went on the last tour of this pit before it got closed. So yeah, a lot of flooding comes in here, but it's supposed to. So yeah, now let's go back so I can show you to scale. See, this is the only part that's a bridge. Let's go back to Street View. Okay. Now you can, like, hop over I did it with 4. So I get on the other side of this bloody truck, and like, there it is. Haha, yeah. So it pulled over at some point. Okay, so yeah, bye-bye truck. Or maybe he didn't pull. Was that from somebody else? That truck looks like a totally different truck. Anyway, I digress. So here you can see a lot better to scale. This is the north wall of the North Quarry. Now, when this was taken, it wasn't flooded a lot. I don't know what year this is from. It says 2025, but it's not from this year. We don't have that many leaves on our trees yet. There's that road, so that's not dipping. But you can see beds dipping, because like I said, this is basically, there was a reef core. Most of these complexes have 1, maybe 2 or 3 cores close to each other, and they grow reefs from them. This one has 1 initial one where it started to branch out as 1 reef, and then little reefs will grow on top of it. That's how you get the initial dip. Okay, so you can see it here too. You can see how it comes up. This is the main complex. You can see you have like a little basin-like structure, syncline over here. Same thing right here, just none of this is from tectonic activity. And I want to show you something else. So, yeah, you can see it's obviously vertically exaggerated. And so, yeah, let's go this way. So the quarry, here's that side I initially showed you. The rock outcrops go to about this road. I'll show you real quick. Now you're at about 600 feet above sea level here on the road, and you can still see Phala. This is not rock outcrop, that's wall. But here, yeah, you see it? Here's some rock outcrop. There's a little bit here. So it essentially goes to this bridge. Now, I'm going to show you something interesting. So here we are still practically on top of the reef. We still are. Now watch this. This is really interesting. First, I'm going to just measure the distance. I already know what the distance is. I'll do this in kilometers and meters just because it's easily changeable. So from right about here, east, to about right here, is about 2/3 of a kilometer, which should be a little over 4/10 of a mile. Where's miles? Yeah, 0.42. Now, the bedrock is at the surface here, even a little bit above 600 feet, okay, above mean sea level. Now, it doesn't change much here. It means your elevation, okay, you're actually a little higher. These mounds are man-made. These mounds are not natural. And in the late aughts, when Mobil was trying to pawn off all its liability on someone else, we did borings here. We went down 30, 40 feet, and you're still not in bedrock. Now, these are about, 20 feet high, okay? So we were one of these below this at some point, so we're still in that bedrock. So you take that 20 feet away. Now, there are wells in the area. There used to be one over here. Bedrock is at 90 feet. Now you take that 20, 30 feet off, and you got 60 feet to bedrock here. So in less than half a mile, so 2/3 of a kilometer, bedrock goes from being at eye level to being 60 feet below the ground surface, which is what? Just under 20 meters? That's a lot. The reef is not here. The reason why that happened is because the glaciers generally came, let's see if I can see Lake Michigan. Yeah, here's Lake Michigan. So the glaciers basically came this way, came out. So from here it was probably more northeastish, northeastish. But they would bypass this. I'm sure they at one point ran it over. So let me get back here. I'm getting north. Here you can see this is the state line. This is Indiana. This is Thornton Quarry. So you can see exactly how far are we from the abouts here. We're about from the Indiana border, in case you're curious, about 4.93, about 5 miles. That's about right. About 8 kilometers. Yeah, that's about right. Okay. So we're not that far from the Indiana border. And the reef complex is oblong. It is basically trending north-south. It's pretty close to circular, though. is about as circular as a reef as I've ever seen. So this pit, this is this Chicago Road? Oh, these are the old rail lines. Yeah, there's a story, got to tell you about those. But anyway, this, I think they're still quarrying. They've opened this pit a little more, I think. This pit is still completely active on the south side of the highway here. Sorry, this is south side. This is more of a staging area. They did used to do a lot of quarrying here, but they stopped. I don't know why. And over here, we used to park. I'm looking north now. We used to park over here. When I was a teenager, cut through here. These tracks were active then. They're not now. And we would climb up this, and we'd go to the edge of this little lake. But even back then, we were smart enough not to go in it. You can totally tell it's totally toxic. Nobody would ever fish either. But yeah, you'd come up here, and we would wander all the way around here and play post-apocalyptic stuff and shit like that, because there's nothing grows up there. Now, I think they do have this fenced off now. They didn't used to be able to get over here, but I think it is fenced off now. Yeah, we would actually keep going. And one time we did cross over here, which was very stupid of us, but we did. And we just continued on until we got uncomfortably close to the side. I remember that. And we could just see it everywhere. I might do a drone thing from here someday. I don't know. Anyway, nostalgia time over. Sorry. So here, see, this is I-80. West to east, east to west, north looking straight. You can always look right here. See the highway is completely built on top of rock. Okay, you can still see that. You see how you got this little syncline structure here? It still goes over here too, because you have a couple smaller reefs off this side. This is the main reef. The main reef then dives down here to where you see on the edge. I don't think there's any smaller reefs on the east side. There might be scattered, but anyway, I don't know. I used to have a hell of a core from this, but it got destroyed in flooding when I lived in an apartment in the basement, and it got all jumbled up and wasn't any good to me anymore, since I didn't know what was what and it was out of order. And yeah, anyway, so I think that's it. I just wanted to show you guys that. So if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below, and I hope you learned something.